Now, in the chapter that we're looking at now in Luke, we're told that Jesus went home to his hometown where he grew up. Now, you know, John Howard's the Prime Minister of Australia, but he grew up in the suburb of Earlwood. And when he was in Earlwood as a boy, he was only just one of the other boys. Now he's somebody important, but then he was only just a kid. He was just an ordinary kid. And I suppose the people in his family who are related to him, people in the district that knew him as a kid, said, well, fancy that, he's now this. And it's like that with everybody who kind of gets up there somewhere. They were ordinary at one stage, and Jesus was very like that. He went home to visit his own hometown where he grew up, Nazareth. And because it was the Saturday, he went to the synagogue where the Jewish worship took place. Now, he was a local. He'd lived there all his life until he left and started preaching. So it was an obvious thing for them to do, to suggest that he might like to read the Bible passage in the service, something we still do today. And so they handed him not a book that opened out like this, but a great scroll that did like this. And they handed him the scroll and asked him to read it. And so he picked up the scroll and he started to read it. Now, I haven't written it on there so that you can read it from the distance, but let me read you what he said. He opened up the scroll and he started to read. The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he anointed me to preach good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim the freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight to the blind, to release the oppressed, and to proclaim the year of God's favour. And he stopped talking, rolled the scroll up, gave it back to the man in charge, and went and sat down. They were all astonished, because what he'd done, he hadn't finished. He hadn't come to the end. He'd left something off. And they're all astonished and they're all staring at him. The Bible says the eyes of everyone was fixed on him. Now, when you read the Bible, watch for those things that indicate their emotion. They're all staring at him, surprised. And they said, he's a local boy. He grew up here. We know this fellow. What's he on about? What's going on? And they were all at that stage, they were all quite pleased, it said. They were all quite happy with him, even though they were surprised. They weren't sort of angry or annoyed at all. It tells us that they were all quite pleased with what Jesus was saying and doing. And then Jesus sort of said to them, today, what you have heard is happening. Ooh, what do you mean? Today, what have we heard? The Spirit of the Lord is on me, to proclaim the year of the Lord's, of God's favour. What can he mean? When he says, today, what you've heard is happening. And they're all sitting there scratching their heads and puzzled. And then he said to them, I know what you're going to ask me. You want me to do one of the miracles that you've heard me doing in other places. I'm not going to. Huh? I'm not going to. A prophet doesn't have honour in his own country. Not too pleased now. I'll explain it to you. I'll show you how true that is. He said, you think about it. Way back there in history, Elijah, the big prophet, everybody, they knew all about Elijah. He's this great prophet. Elijah was fed by the birds until the creek dried up. And then God said, go down to Zarephath. And he went down and he saw this woman and she was collecting up some twigs. And he said, would you give me a drink of water and something to eat? And she said, oh, I haven't anything. I've just got a little bit left to cook up a cake for my son and me to eat. And after we've finished eating that, we're going to die. Of course, there's a great famine on. And Elijah said, look, you go and mix up the cake and give me the first bite. Give me the first slice. And she did. And what happened? There was enough there every day. Every day. Every time she looked in the barrel, there's still a little bit more. And all the way through the famine, she had food. But she was the only one. There were lots of other widows, but just this one woman. And she was a Gentile, a foreigner. And what about Naaman? He was a Syrian, great general, Naaman. But he was a leper. And he went to Israel because a little slave girl said, down in Israel, there's someone there, a prophet there that can cure you of your leprosy. And he went down with chariots of gold and silver and a great flourish. Here I am, he said to the king. Here's my letter of introduction. Cure me. Oh, what? I'm going to cure you. And finally the king sent him down to Elisha. Elisha. Sent him down to Elisha. And Elisha didn't even come to the door. He just said, go and tell him to dip in the river Jordan 7 times. What? Well, wouldn't stream, that muddy stream. Back home the rivers are pure and clean. Wouldn't go down that mud if you paid me. If he'd told you to do something wonderful, wouldn't you have done it? Something simple. Just try it. So he went down and he dipped in the river 7 times. And when he came up, the leprosy's gone. Ho-ho! There were lots of lepers, said Jesus. Lots of them. But only one was cured. And he was a Gentile. He was a foreigner. We're not going to sit here and listen to any more of this. How am I not going to let him get away with this? And they rushed down and grabbed him up and dragged him out of his seat. Get him out of here! Push him down the aisle! Get him down of here! There's a cliff down there! Let's toss him over there! And they're pushing him down the street. As they twisted him down, we don't know, because the story doesn't tell us why, they backed away from finally pushing over that cliff. And he just walked through the midst and walked away.